Okay, so navigating through a traffic tariff X3 in the last 3 to 4 months, you would be able to notice that multiple tariff changes have been started implementing onto the X3 site or onto the overall world communication or overall world transmission of the data or the goods can be exchanged. At that time, the new tariff rules have been implemented on daily basis. The different tariff percentage has been implemented. This tariff percentage needs to be implemented on our ERP as well. So that would help us to calculate the new costings, the new tariff routes, the new tariff percentage, and the rest of the things. So this is little bit challenging, and how easily we can implement into the X3 would be the point or the agenda for the today's webinar. Coming up on to the next slide, what the webinar looks would be the introduction to the webinar would be the would how the tariffs needs to be carried out, what are the things needs to be taken care of, what are the challenges of implementing, because the daily tariff changes have been noticed in last month or so. So this needs to be implemented, and as the transmission of the goods have been taken place on a daily basis, so that daily tariff change needs to be implemented into the X3 when the containers have been received or the containers have been shipped out from the warehouses or from the countries to different countries when the goods have been exchanged. In this process webinar, I would be showing you the tariff implementation setups, how this tariff needs to be implemented into the X3 with different duty rates, with the different rate criterias. The demonstration of the data or the demonstration of the tariff implementation would show you the transactions, how the transactions are going to be implemented, how the transactions are going to be taken place. Impact of cost of goods. Obviously, the tariffs are being getting implemented or are be getting increased. At the same time, this cost are going to be impacted onto the cost of goods as well. This would increase the cost pricing of the goods, and that would be surely been increasing the price list changes that would be able, and that the selling price of the goods would also be gradually been getting increased. This needs to be monitored, or the pricing needs to be calculated. The next thing is how this things can be implemented. These things can be implemented in two different ways. Some of the import export process have an import tracking functionality add-on present into the X3. So then that process needs to be implemented into the import tracking process. And then if you are not using any import tracking process, if you're directly importing the goods, or if you're directly bringing the goods from the other countries through, and then you are applying the custom duties and charges, then how that can be implemented, how that can be charged, or uh, how that charges can be implemented into the Excel. So there are two different way we can use the tariff process, is by using an import tracking, and another is by without import tracking directly making an invoice. Use of this process would help you in your business process for making the price calculation, for deciding the prices, forecasting the prices, and how this products can be sold into the market with the best prices. So these things are going to be covered into the today's webinar. Coming up on my side, myself Sanket Karnik, team lead of Sage X3 with over 13 years of experience in Sage ERP consulting and technical and functional prospects. Proven tax optimizing the business process. My core functionality is optimizing the business process and delivering the seamless ERP architecture tailored by industry needs. Yeah, coming up, giving a functional and technical support, and using the existing business process to set into the existing Sage X3 rather than doing a customizations or going ahead with the small customizations or integration processes, getting that things needs to be implemented into the Sage X3. So this is my core profile. Coming up to the what are the challenges in implementing. The important challenge which I see, which we would be seeing in the global world today, in today's date, is daily change in tariff. That's the difficult way. yesterday it was 10%, today it will go to 20, tomorrow it might go to 30, and this may get on changing day by day. So this turns to be a very difficult for the accounting teams or for the costing teams to identify and implement the costings and pricings into the X3. So this can be achieved by making a duty rate setups in X3 on the daily. We have a duty rate setups in X3 onto the import tracking process that would help you to set the pricings or the duty rates on a daily basis. So if the container has been received on 1st of April, it would be charging around $10 or 10% of custom duties. If it has been received on 5th of April, it might go to the 30% of custom duties. So this can be the way we can change, or we can set the duty rates, and according to that, automatically the calculation would take place. Compliances and documentation issues, yeah. Or obviously the duty rates are going to vary. Automatically, these duty rate setups are going to be carried on to the documentation sites, which would be passed on to the custom officers or the custom and border clearance team that would be taking care, and that would be helping them to identify the cost of the goods and the custom charges paid. Managing the customs and border clearing invoice and payments. So yeah, this is again the next point where we need to pay, where we need to pay to the customs and border teams to what are the goods we are importing, or what are the things we are importing into the system, into our warehouses, that needs to be paid off with proper custom clearances and the invoices and against the customs, and then the proper invoicing needs to be implemented and terminologies needs to be cleared. Okay, next point is how can this be help in your business? Yeah, so this would help you into the business process to make the cost pricing efficiently, calculate the prices on to the daily basis. So let's assume we are receiving a goods today at on the 1st of May. That's around $100. On the same products, if I'm receiving on to the 10th of May, it might go to the $30 to $300. It might get increased on a day by day, or according to the tariffs, the new tariffs has been implemented. So this helps is us to track the cost of goods. The same products have been received on three different way, or three different pricings, and how this can be futuristically, we can design the prices accordingly. So this helps in your business process to track the cost and finalize the costing and the pricing of the goods and real-time cost variances. You will be able to see the same variances of the goods, that initially the goods was received at 10, then 30. So yeah, 20 is a variance which has been increased on to the daily basis. So this, it will help your business to understand how these tariffs are going to be impacted on the business process. Hope these things are clear till now. Now I will be moving on to the Sage X3 to walk you through the real business scenarios. Just to summarize the setups which I have done, that is, I have prepared one of the customer and one of the supplier and one of the product that has been origin from the, let's assume, from the China products. So I would be going ahead and I'm just showing you the products what I have prepared till now. So BMS 116 is one of the product which I have created with iPhone 16 Pro is the name of a product which I have been created. One of the supplier which I have been added as NA052, and which is nothing but the Chinese customer. The country of origin of this particular customer is from China, and the amount which we are going to receive or we are going to pay is in USD. So this is one of the supplier or one of the business partner which are prepared into the X3. These are the two components which I would be using when I'm making a transactions. Going ahead, if I'm making a purchase order, so I have already prepared one of a purchase order. As I mentioned earlier, that I would be demonstrating the two different prospects. That is one from the container tracking, that is import tracking, And the second one, I would be using the direct invoicing without a container tracking to charge the products with different customs and tariff charges. Okay, so starting with this purchase orders, so I have prepared one of a purchase order, which is nothing but with the same custom which I earlier mentioned, that is NE052, with the tax rule as CN, that is a China legislations which I have prepared. The BMS 116 is a product which I have used, and then the order quantity is 10, and I'm receiving on this product. So I would be entering the gross price. Let's assume I'm entering $300 and I'm saving this one. Now I already prepared one more, so I would just use this one for container tracking. Okay, so this is one of the purchase order which I have already created, and now I will be using that container. Before moving ahead onto the container tracking or to the import tracking, I would like to show you the some setups which needs to be carried on. That is the duty rates in X3 into the add-on for the Sage X3. That is the import tracking add-on. And this add-on I have set up and import tracking. I have set up the duty rates as 13.3 if I am receiving a product till 13 till 26th of April 2025, it would be charged under 15 under 10%, and after 26th of April it would be the duty rates would go higher by 15%. So this is, and the excise rate would be for 10%. So this is a setup which I have created. You can add on multiple lines according to the tariff changes which have been brought into the daily into the today's recent changes. So this changes, you can implement multiple lines according to that. And as soon as you make the transactions on that particular date, because now I'm creating a transaction date on 6th of May, so automatically this duty rates and excess rate would be considered when I'm making a containers and when I'm receiving the containers and when I'm charging for that one. So this can be implemented. This variable start dates can be utilized so that according to that things, you can charge, you can define the duty rates, and then automatically that duty rates would be carried when you're making a container or you're making the you are receiving the containers. So yeah. Okay, going ahead to the next part is making the container. Containers are nothing but are mapped to the vessels. So this is one of the vessel which I have already created. This is an MSC vessel for an example 2568. This is going to be departed from port of Guangzhou and from the on the 1st of January, and it has been going to be received on New York. Let's assume on 2nd of May, and this has already been shipped. Let's assume this particular vessel is already been sent or been discharged from the port of Guangzhou, and it is being going to received on 2nd of May. So it is not yet received. So according to that, I have mapped one of the container in this. So if I'm receiving that particular container on, let's assume, uh, 4th of or 2nd of May or the 4th of May, there would be a there would be the changes. The new tax rate or the duty rates needs to be applied. So how this will work? So in this case, calculate charges is one of the container management button, or the calculate charges is one of the functionality that would help you to understand automatically. That would get, yeah, 3500 is nothing but the valuation which I have been received. On that, 15% of duty rates are already applied, so why 525, excess rate of 10, and then automatically for HMF and MPF has been applied. So total duty of 679 has been applied on this particular purchase order line level button. Okay, so this I am going to save this transaction, save this valuations, or save this costings, and then I would be entering the bill of lading number. This is the basic things which when we are using the container tracking or the import tracking, which needs to be implemented. Now let's assume this vessel is being parked onto the port and now it is good to receive. So I will enter the date as 2nd of May and would tab out and save the things. So as soon as it has been saved, I would be able to see that this particular container is available in the port. You will be able to see the status has been in port right now. So once it has been received in port, yeah, the rest of the customs and this kind of things would start playing a role over here. So once this all clearance and all custom clearance has been done, or the forwarded clearance has been done, we can enter the custom clearance number or the custom transaction number 1526, and then I would release yes. It has been released by the customs as well as from the freight. I will just save the transaction. So as soon as it has been saved, you are good to release or good to uh, receive into the X3 side on into the receipt side. So this is one of the container which has been landed onto the port. It has been cleared by customs and everything has been ready. Now it is good to go and receive onto our warehouses. At that time, I would be going ahead and going on to the purchase receipts. I will be using the same customer, same supplier, sorry. And now we can say now we can select the order in two different ways. We can select the order from the order selection and from the container selection. But I will be selecting from the order right now. As we are receiving from the order, I would be entering the stock location, the lot number, just copying these things and would be receiving the products. Once the product has been received, I need to make an invoice of it. First thing I would be receiving, I would be making a normal invoices or the simple invoices of that particular receipt. So GESPIH would be helping me to create a purchase invoice. Till here, we would not be using any custom things. This custom or the tariffs needs to be implemented. So now I would be using receipt selections. Yeah, so this has been received, and I will be entering this. These taxes are nothing but the basic taxes that have been on to the state level taxes that are not the custom duties and these other taxes. These are the local taxes being applied. So I'm just saving this transaction. I need to enter the supplier doc number. Container transaction number, and I'm saving this. Okay, once this has been saved, I will be posting these things. Okay, so now till now we are clear. We have just charged to the customer, to the supplier, what are the things which we have paid which we need to pay to the supplier for the goods which we have received. The next charges we need to pay to the customs and border clearance, which we have charged at the container level. Okay, so now I would be using one of the custom clearance. I have prepared one of the supplier, that is custom. So that would be a border and custom clearance team or the authority for which we need to pay. So account payable is the things which I need to use it. I will be paying a payment terms. Okay, sorry. And then the next step would, let's see, this will be a complementary invoice. Before moving ahead onto the line level, I will just flag you that this is an additional invoice, or this would be a complementary invoice that would be charging additional cost to that particular line items. Because why I'm using this particular thing is we need to have that cost needs to be increased or needs to be deployed onto the product cost. If I'm not doing this, that cost would not be implemented, on that not cost would not be added to the existing cost, existing product cost. So that needs to be added. So that's the reason we need to use a complementary invoices. Now, once a complementary invoices, we need to click on the line level button. Preloading of the lines. This functionality would help us to understand how we need to add additional cost onto the line. Now I would be doing this PMS 116. These are the multiple receipts which I have done earlier. So this is one of the invoice receipt which I have done. So 3500 is a cost, and on that cost we have applied the uh, earlier custom duties or the excess duties at the time of container. So same quantity, same things. We just need to deploy it over here 679.5, and I would be hitting on OK. So as soon as I hit on OK, automatically this prices would start deploying. So automatically this price 679.50 would be applied to this. So the cost of the initial was 3500 would increase to 679.50. So now I will go ahead and create the transaction 679.50. This invoices I am going to pay to the US border custom team. This is not against the supplier because this amount or the custom charges are not being paid to the supplier. It has been paid to the customs and borders. This is an additional cost which we need to pay to the custom team, custom authority. So that's the reason. So now things have been done. Sorry, I just entered the wrong amount. Once this has been matched, I can just post it. So once this cost has been added onto the product, how this costing impacts are going to play a role into the cost of goods or into the how the pricing or how the cost are being getting impacted. So for this reason, I will just go to the average lot cost moment and see how this works. NA 0. Yeah, this 116 lot number. This is a lot which we have used. Let me just hit on search. Okay. So now you would be able to see initial cost was 3,500 USD, which we have received at the time of receipts. Then the additional cost of 679.50 has been added, and now the new cost of this particular product is 417.50. So this is nothing but we have added a cost onto the actual cost, and the actual cost has been increased. So 679.50 is an additional cost which has been added, which increased the original prices of the products. So according to this reports or according to the screens, according to the costing things, the users or the pricing or the commodity or the management would be able to visualize the things or the variances and would help the team uh, to get to the next actual pricing can be decided for the coming period or the coming futuristic pricing can be designed from this particular things. So automatically the tariffs which we are applying which we are going to pay onto the products which we are receiving, that would start impacting onto the products, and then that would help us to identify the exact costings. So this is one of the process where we are receiving the products from the container. From the container, we are receiving the containers, and from the receipts, we are making actual invoices, and then going ahead and we are making the invoices of it, or the complementary invoices to charge the custom charges on it. The next thing which I earlier mentioned is directly making an invoices. Now I would not be going ahead and making a container. There might be the cases where some of the users might not use the import tracking add-on functionality. They can directly go ahead and receive something and charge to the custom and clearance, or they can receive the invoices from custom and clearance, and then they can pay against it. So I would go ahead and make a receipt of it now, of the one more purchase order which I have created. We're making a receipt of it, okay, saving the transaction. And I would not be right now, if you are able to see, yeah, I have not prepared a container. I have just receiving the product and I'm going ahead onto the purchase invoice to charge the things. First invoice would be against the supplier, which I'm preparing right now. I would just enter the including tax. Invoice would see post the transaction. Next thing would be any 012. I would be making a complementary invoices. Additional custom charges needs to be applied. So I would be doing against customs, border and custom clearance authority. Again, over here, I would be doing the preloading of the lines. The next receipt which I have received, I would be charging against that particular line. I think so 90 is a number. Yeah, that's it. I would be, this is the thing which automatically, this is a case where we receive the goods, or we receive the invoices from the custom team that this is an amount which needs to be paid off. Then here we can enter directly amount. Let's assume 3,000 is the valuation. I would enter 800 as an additional taxation value that needs to be amount for audit if they are having multiple lines. According to the amounts, the valuation would be split up according to the lines. Would be saving the transactions and would be posting it. So the same impacts of pricings can be visualized from this particular process also. So even if the customers of the users are using the container tracking or the import tracking process, would also have the same impacts if they are not using if they are using a standard process. Still, you will be able to see the same impacts as well. Yeah, initially would be a 3,800 is an additional variance, additional cost of customs is added, and 3,800 is a new cost would be able to visualize by the pricing and the management team to decide the futuristic prices of that particular products. So this is something we can implement, how easily we can implement into the X3. Coming up onto the Greatrix side, yeah, Greatrix is having a 2,000 plus customers over the worldwide, 24 years of expertise, 24 plus years of expertise, 100 plus man years of experience, 1,000 plus projects, and the one of our Gomo platforms for the seamless integration experience with ERPs or any other third parties or CRMs. So yeah, I would be looking forward for your questions, and yeah, would be looking to answer them as soon as possible. So yeah, thank you for your time and patience to get over to the exact scenarios, how can be implemented. This current webinar is for the purchase side. We would be looking forward for again sales side as well, how these things can be implemented onto the sales side, and the same prospects, how we can how the custom clearance and how the things or the taxations would play onto the sales side as well when we are selling of the products to the different customers staying into the different countries with other tariff charges. Thank you everybody for your time and patience to be on to the webinar. We would be looking forward for your questions. Please drop the mails on x3@greatrix.com for any assistance needed. We will be looking forward for the same. Thank you everybody.